Hi, I'm J. Lenora Bressler, and welcome to the March 21st, 2025 edition of the Bible Delight in the Details. I was working on my Sunday school lesson for Sunday, and I'm in 1 Peter chapter 2, and something struck me about verse 24 that I'd never thought about, and I want to share it with you because I think it's kind of interesting. This is Peter writing, and he says, he himself, referring to Jesus, bore our sins in his body on the tree, so that, having died to sins, we might live for righteousness. By his wounds, you have been healed. I want to focus on the thing about the tree for a moment, that Jesus was on a tree. You know, this is referring to a passage in Deuteronomy that talked about cursed is anyone who dies on a tree. And it's a foreshadowing of that Christ would be made into sin for us, and that God's wrath would be poured out on him rather than us. I always say that, Jesus said, better me than you. Whereas most of us, when we think about things happening to somebody in the world, we say, well, better you than me. But he turned that around. But what I was really struck by today is the idea of a tree. I do a lot of talking about Christmas origins, the origin of Christmas traditions. And one of the things, of course, that you think about at Christmas is the Christmas tree. And there are many different traditions about where we got that. I think that the best documented one is the one about Martin Luther walking through the forest at night and seeing the beauty of the stars twinkling through the trees, and he cut down a tree and took it home. But there are other traditions that look back to pagan rituals about trees. And, there's no question that that was going on. Did Christmas trees come from that? Well, we can debate that, but let's pretend that it is. Let's just say, yes, it came from that pagan ritual. Here's the difference. The pagans believed that spirits, divine spirits, were actually in the trees. The significant part was the tree itself. But Christians understand, and we demonstrate with our Christmas trees, that the thing that's precious is not the tree. It's what was decorating the tree. It's what was ornamenting the tree. It is what was on the tree. And indeed, isn't that how we practically and logistically deal with our Christmas trees? Christmas trees, if they're live, are thrown away days after we celebrate. And even artificial trees will one day go the route of all flesh. But the ornaments are often kept and stored and treasured for years and maybe even generations. Jesus is not the tree. He was on the tree. And just like with our Christmas tree celebrations, it's the ornaments, not the tree itself, that is so valuable and that can last for so long. Just something for you to think about. I know it's not Christmas, but anytime you see a tree, you should think about this passage in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 24. Because once upon a time, someone very precious ornamented a tree, and that is something that we should commemorate forevermore. I'm J. Lenora Bressler. Visit me on the next edition of the Bible Delight in the Details. Have a great day.